Welcome to the fastest daf in town. Today on Masechtas Yevamot daf Lamed Vav, we're going to begin on Lamed Vav Amud Aleph, about 20 lines from the top, with the words Omer v'Elazar. Now, we've been discussing, based on our new parak, which we just saw in yesterday's daf, that if a person did chalitza with a Yevamah, and the truth is she was mubaris, she was pregnant, so the Gemara discusses whether or not a chalitza while a woman is pregnant is a chalitza, and if it's not a chalitza, even though if it turns out that she doesn't have a child, the question is, do the other brothers need to do a chalitza? Alternatively, we also discussed when it came to bia, when it comes to yibum, if you would have relations bia with umubaris, whether that's also considered to be an acceptable bia as far as being able to be kaina the yavama. So we continue with the words Omer v'Elazar. Asher, which is really in the middle of this piece, Isel v'Hadreish Lakish v'Loi Tnanu l'Mastisin. Is it possible that we learn that which Reish Lakish holds and it's not found in our Mishnah? So again, according to the Shita of Reish Lakish, as we see in the middle of this daf, Reish Lakish holds, actually at the beginning of the Gemara, again, Hachayelsu Mubaris v'Hepil, and she has a miscarriage. Rabbi Yochanan says you do not need another, the brothers do not have to do chalitza. Reish Lakish says Sricha chalitza min achen. It is necessary. So the question is, where do we find this din that if chalitza was done according to the sheet of Reish Lakish is not acceptable, and the other brothers have to do another chalitza? So Nafuk, they went out Dok Ashkach, and they found the following Mishnah Titnan. We learn toward the end of this Masechta, almost the very end, Ha'isha Shalach Bala, but Saras Medina Siyam. So you have a situation where a woman goes with her husband as well as the co-wife to a completely different country. Uval v'Amrullah, and they came and they said, Meis Balech. So they said that your husband is dead. So obviously in the situation your husband is dead, so then that would free her up. So harizu lo tinase. We say that she should not get married. Lo tisyavim, and also she should not do yibum with the brother, assuming again that she was childless. Ad sheteda, unless you know for sure shema mubaris hit sarasa. If you know that the tzara, the co-wife, was pregnant, and therefore if she was pregnant l'chayra, that would mean that you would be completely potter. So bishul miyavumi loy. I understand that you don't do yibum. Shemi he vlad ben kayama. What happens if the tzara actually is a ben kayama, which means that this man, your husband, actually did have a child, not with you, but with the tzara. So therefore, that's it. And therefore, it's considered to be an isra of eshasach diraisa. So it makes sense why we're going to say that that yibum should not be done. Fine. Says Rashi again. V'ein lo banim hit sarasa osat sarasa shahach imo. This co-wife that went with him, i shama aleha, that was said shin muberes. Let's say it was told that no, she's not pregnant. I know she's not pregnant. Tisyavim. Then in fact she could do yibum. V'leichashinan shema nasa balacheres medina siyam. We're not concerned that maybe this man went and married another woman in Medina Siyam. We don't have that, and maybe had a kid. We don't have that concern, therefore she could actually do yibum with the brother. Why do we say that she not to do chalitza, v'tinasi l'shuk, and she can just marry out in anyone? Amai. If in fact the chalitza while pregnant works, tachlots, then she should just do chalitza mamanavshach. The bein saras muberes bein ein muberes hari chalitza potarta. That this brother can pater her, and that would be it. It doesn't matter if the tzara is pregnant. So l'chayra must be the reason why he can't do this is because l'chayra we see this notion that this is a situation. This is a situation where chalitza will not work because it's chalitzas muberes. So Bishlam, which is what Reish Lakish really holds. So Bishlam atachloitz b'toich tes I can understand if, let's say, he would want to do chalitza within 9, and then marry someone else within that time, lo hainu suffik. So in that situation, that is it's a suffix that it's a viable child. She should be able to do chalitza with the other brother, and then she can marry someone else. So it's a question, Rav Yochanan L'chor, that supports Reish Lakish. The fact that she cannot do chalitza is a raya that when it comes to chalitza, it has to be that she's not. There's no pregnancy. But if it was chalitzas muberes, it's lo shma chalitza. So it would be a question on Rav Yochanan. So l'taimeich, 1 second. According to Reish Lakish, tachas nas li'achar. The Mishnah's mashma, you need to wait until you know the situation. Ella barmina. You can't use this example. That he did by Barabba, Rabchin, the Barabba, Diamar Tavayu, that they both say that Shema Yehivlad ben Kayama. We're concerned that this co-wife, that Sarah, is actually ben Kayama. So the reason why we don't want you to do chalitza is because there's no need to do chalitza. Because if, in fact, that Sarah has a child, so there would have been no need for you to do chalitza. You did chalitza. Let's say you did. Karoz l'kahuna. So then all of a sudden you've caused a problem that she's otherwise she would not be able to marry into kahuna. So you're causing that issue, because again, once a woman does chalitza, then she can't marry kohen. So where it says v'latz or chasol, let's just require it. No, delma ika inish dahavi b'chalitza v'loy havi b'hachraza. Because let's say chalitza was done, but it wasn't announced, right? Let's imagine that person wasn't there at the time of the announcement. V'asel meimer kishari chalutza kayin. And they'll say, no, the reason why this woman got married must be because chalitza is allowed. So because we can say, well, why don't we just simply make an announcement and say, okay, we're doing chalitza, but it's not really a chalitza, it's just kind of just in case. But in case this Sarah is a bar kayama, she has a child who's alive, then the chalitza doesn't count. But we don't want to do that because a person may not be around to hear that whole announcement, and therefore we'll end up, there could be, again, the issue that people could start thinking that a Kohen can marry a woman who did chalitza. Similarly, Abaye. Midilo tachlos tisyavim katani. Does it say don't do chalitza or yibum? V'lo tinase. It says don't marry v'lo tisyavim katani. Below chalitza. Don't marry without chalitza. Aval I chalitz, maybe if you did chalitza, I chalitz la hachinami desharia. So maybe in fact it's not the case. Maybe chalitza's muberes is shma chalitza. Fine. Tani kibas Reish Lakish. So we have this a support to Reish Lakish. A chalitz muberes v'hepila sirich chalitza min achen. So it's beferish like Reish Lakish. Omer Rabbi hilchas kibas Reish Lakish b'hani talas. The halacha is like him regarding 3 matters. Chad had amran. One is the one we just mentioned. When it comes to the din of chalitza's muberes is not a chalitza, and therefore the other brothers have to do chalitza. Idach. What's the second of the 3 cases where we paskin between Reish Lakish and Rav Yochanan like Reish Lakish? So hadiyams idach did not hamachalach nechasiv al piv ribul echad umidl echad. Let's say a person is involved in doing the division of his inheritance to his children. He gives one kid a lot and one kid not so much. Says Rashi, al piv achrei divri piv v'lo b'stam Yerusha. So he's not doing it according to the normal laws of Yerusha. The question is, can he do this? V'hishvil as a bechor, or let's say he gives the bechor the same amount of Rav Kayamin. In all these situations, he's allowed to do it because in these situations he's not doing it with a name of Yerusha. Because if you do it l'shem Yerusha, you're masla mashakasa b'tayra, and that won't work. But you do it in the shame of a matana, and then it's okay. But if instead you use the lashon of Yerusha, that's not going to work. As again, because you're masla mashakasa b'tayra. However, if you use it in a way which is you're like giving it to them, then it works. Fine. So then we say like this: V'im omer mishum Yerusha lo omer klum. Kasav bein batchil, bein basov, bein be'emsa, mishum matana devar kayaman. All you need to do at any point, beginning, middle, or end, is to at least make one stipulation that it's for the sake of a gift, and that's it, and it'll work. Even if the other things may have been mashmin shem Yerusha. On this, the Gemara continues on Lamed Vavam Bebeis. V'yomer Shlakish no Olam Lokana Ad Sheyomer Ploni Ploni Yershu Sad Ploni Ploinus Uploinus Shnasatim Lohem B'Matana V'Yershum. In other words, all of them must be included in this lashon. Says Rashi, Lo Masnisin Polig. He doesn't argue on the Mishnah, but rather Kulanami Matana Ninhu. He says that everything has to be Moshe Matana. V'Ido, what's the third time where Reish Lakish we hold like Reish Lakish? Famous machlokas that non hakaysiv chodachas livnoi. A person writes all of his possessions to his son, la'achar moso, after he dies. So ha'av in yochel limchor. At this point, the father could no longer sell the karka, because he gave it to the son. So the son has rights to the land. Havaben in yochel limchor. The son also can't sell it at this time, because it still belongs to the father. So it's only, it says Rashi Lachar Moso Shekosiv Mahayom Lachar Misa. Ve'enu Abahen El Achilas Peres B'chayev. So the father only has rights to the fruits. So again, the father or the son are equally not allowed to sell this land. Machar Av, let's say the father does, even though he wasn't supposed to. So Machurin Ad Shiomos, we say it was a Machir at least until he dies, because then afterwards it goes to the son. Says Rashi, Machar Av Machurin, Lecha Lokech Peros, Kol Mechaye Av. At least the man who purchased the land, he can't. It's not really his land, but he has rights to the fruit. Because the father has rights to the peros as long as he's alive. Machar Av, let's say again, the father sold Machurin ad Shiomos. Who Machar Shiomos? Machar haben in lokech klum ad Shiomos Av. If the son sells it because he only has rights to the land, he has no right to the peros. So the lokech has no rights to anything until finally the father dies. The itmar, we learn like this: Machar haben b'chay av. Let's say that the son sold the property in the lifetime of the father, or for that umes, and he died. Haben, or for the matter umes haben b'chay av, the child dies. So in this situation, now the land is not his. It was the fruits were the father's, and now what goes to the land? So in this situation, the loikech will not be kind of this property. He says that the kinyan peros has the same din as the kinyan haguf, and therefore, in this situation, says Rashi, afilu kishiyamos av. Even after the father dies, the kinyan peros shahayel av, when the father has the rights to the fruits, but nechasam lolu ki kinyan guf dami. It's like owning of the land. Vein mechiras haben mechira, and therefore the sale of the son was nothing, and therefore that's what it's talking about. In the case where the son sold it, so but then the son died, so therefore the loikech has nothing, because since the father has kinyan peros, it's kinyan aguf, and therefore the kinyan was nothing. Rabbi Yochanan loikan loikeach, because kinyan peros kinyan aguf dami. However, you hold like Reish Lakish. Reish Lakish are kind of loikeach, that when the son sold it to the loikeach, and then subsequently the son dies, it's a kinyan, because kinyan peros have kinyan aguf dami. The fact that the father owns the right to the peros, the son still has the right to sell the land. So he said, let's say afterwards it turns out that this child is ein havlad shel kayama, that's a stillborn. So therefore she never was able to have a child. So the fact that you did yibum yikayim, we say you can remain married in this situation. Tanim Yishum Rabbi Lezer Amru Yaitzi Beget. He says no. In this situation, you're not allowed to remain married, but rather you actually have to leave this situation. Again, this is talking about where the child where it says ein havlad shel kayama yiskayim. So on him, he says no. They have to leave the marriage. Why? He says Rashi she'ein havlad shel kayama. So what do you mean? They should be able to do yibum anyway. So what's the big deal they did before? Kansinon lay. we give them a kanas. The yaitze beget that they have to get divorced. Mishum denichnas l'safik iser eishes ach. He wasn't supposed to do this, and there was a whole doubt. What happens if it's a healthy child? Then it was an iser eishes ach, because she was not actually zok liyibum. The avrav the hashni guli mils the yibum mal yahavoy mihu beget b'lochalita sagi. So he says, no, it doesn't make any difference that we can say, retroactively we figured out the fact that the child died, was stillborn, so therefore was really good yibum. Mihu beget b'loy chalitza sagi. We say, nonetheless, you can, you have to go out with a get. So Amar Rava, Rameir, Rabbi Lezer, Om Devar Echad. Rabbi Lezer, Hada Amar. So Rabbi Lezer, we just established, that says we kanas them in that situation. So that's what we just established. Rameir, how do we see this is similar to Rameir Desan? A person is not supposed to marry a woman who is pregnant or nursing. Says Rashi, Rameir Nami Kanis Esanois Mubaris. If you end up marrying a pregnant woman, then it's actually, we're going to kanas you. Again, Ligarsha Isha. We're going to require you to do divorce. Shemes bala v'himu beres omenika asur lihinase ad esrin v'arba chodesh shekain tinik yoinik. So if, let's say, her husband dies and she's left pregnant or nursing, we wait until the child's 24 months because we want to make sure that that child, that mother focuses on the health of the life of this child. So that is the din. Again, so the Gemara says, according to Rameir, v'im nasa yaitzi, that they have to leave. V'lo yachzer olamis. And not only that, they can never get remarried. Dear Rameir, chum armim yaitzi, I agree that they should leave. However, when it reaches the time after the 24 months, then we allow them to get remarried. So Abai says, how do we know this? Dilma lohi. How do you know that they say the same thing? Dilma ad kan loy kam Rabbi Lezer hacha. Maybe Rabbi Lezer only says by this pregnant woman that you did yibum with el mishum de kapoga b'isreishes ach deraisa. You actually are tampering with a potential issue that if this child is healthy, that you actually were violating Issa Deraisa of Eshes Ach, which is an Ereva. Over here, when we're dealing about a din d'Rabbanan, again, about marrying a pregnant or nursing woman, because we are concerned about the health of this baby, so that's only din d'Rabbanan. So maybe in that situation, he's more lenient. Maybe the only time Rameir is strict was in the Rabbanan. Sometimes when it comes to rabbinical laws, in order that people don't consider them insignificant or they're lax, that you actually are required to be more strict when it comes to them. When it comes to Yibum in the Raisim, so a person may distance themselves and separate themselves and be more careful. So it's lav dafka that they say would agree to each other's opinions. According to the sheet of the Chachamim, again, by marrying a pregnant or nursing woman, you're supposed to give a get. However, you can marry her again after the 24 months. Yotzia beget. So according to them, when it means yotzia, it means with a get. Says Rashi. So Omer, not that you just separate, but you need to get divorced. You don't just separate from each other. You actually have to get divorced and then get remarried. Over there it's learned. If, let's say you have a situation and you wait for 30 days to be able to see the status of the health of this child. So when it comes to a person, after 30 days, we assume that even if that child would die, that was not a nefel. So therefore, that was considered to be a bar kayama. And when it comes to a behemoth, it's 8 days. That's why we wait until 8 days for the shchita, etc. Before that, it's considered to be a mechusar zman. So halo shas feikahavi. Let's say you didn't wait, and you married her anyway, and then the child died. So again, during that time, it's a suffix. So the Itmar meis b'say chalamid yoim. Let's say the child died within 30 days. The Umdam Niskansha, and then the man died within 30 days. The Umdam Niskansha, but you ended up marrying this pregnant woman, and then the child dies. So Ravina Mishmid Rabba Omer Im Eishes Israel if this was an Eishes Israel Chayletzes. So then in this situation you should do chalitza. Again, what happened? Her husband died, and then you decided, all right, you know what, I'll marry her. So the question is, but what do you mean? She's pregnant. So he says, if it's an Eishes Israel, you have to do chalitza. The Eishes Kohen he eno chaletzas. However, with Eishes Kohen, we're not going to require you to do chalitza. Says Rashi. Im Eishes Israel. So look at Rashi. Sveikahu. V'chaletzas v'lo mesyavemas. V'davki mesavkel lon. If we don't know if the child is going to live that long. Im kimlon de kol chadashiv, we know for sure that tinik ben yomo pater min yibum. Then even a tinik ben yomo's pater will pater you from yibum. That if it's kimla, if you know for sure. Again, so what happens? Meis masak shloishim ben hayavama v'niskach l'shuk b'cheska shepatura mishum b'na. So you say, oh, you know what? She has a child, so she married someone in the shuk. So Imish Yisrael, Imzeh Shekadshi Yisrael, who, if let's say the guy that she married was a Yisrael, Shim Tachlitz Min Yavam. In that situation, if she would do chalitza afterwards with a man, Liacha Kedushin Lo Tiyasser Al Balas Chaletzas. She's allowed to marry Yisrael even after chalitza, so we do chalitza. The Imzeh Shekitcha Kohen who, but if the one that did Kedushin was a Kohen, the problem is Shim Tachlos, if you do chalitza there, Ti Asr Love, she'll be usher to him. So Eno Chaletzas was Samchinan of Vlad. In that situation, we're going to be Samech on the Vlad that the child was actually Bar Kiyama, and therefore we're not going to do chalitza Masafik. Because by doing chalitza Masafik, then she won't be able to marry the husband that she was married to. Fine. So Ravina Mishmei the Rebbe Omer Imesh Yisrael he chaletzas. Imesh is Kohen he eno chaletzas. Rav Mishar Shmei the Rebbe Omer Achazu v'Achazu chaletzas. Even by a Kohen, we don't care. She's not to do chalitza. Amul Ravina Rebbe Mishar Shia, as we continue to Lamed Zayin Bad Aleph. Ba'orta at night. Omer Rebbe Hachi. That's what he said, just like we said before. It was Safra. Then in the morning it was a change of heart. Hadar Bey he was chayzer. Says Rashi. Again, Again, if she was married to a Kohen, so he changed his mind and said, no, what? It's not true. If she's married to a Kohen, then we're not going to require chalitza to be done. So the fact that you're being so lenient, it's like you're going to matter fats, non-kosher fats. So what are you doing? So hacha gabi muberes chavero uminekas chavero hanesul koyin mai. So the question is, in this situation, by this pregnant woman in Menekas Chavero, and she gets married to a Kohen, what is the din? Again, by waiting for 24 months that we require a get, do we do this also for Kohen as well? So Amalei Hachi Hashta Bishal Mahasam over there when it came to Chalitza, Kivandi Ikarabanda Gamliel, they argue with him, the army, they said Afgav the Loisha Valad Malia. Havi Gabi Eshes Kayin Kivan Delay Efshav Dinan Karabanan. So he said, even though if you didn't wait for 30 days, it's a healthy child. So therefore, when it comes to Eshes Kohen, since it's not possible to do chalitza, so therefore we'll hold like the Rabban will be lenient and don't do chalitza. V'hacha Kaman David. Who should we do? Ikra Meir Ha'omer Yaitzi. She has to leave with a get. V'yaso Lomas V'Ikaraban the Amri beget. But in either situation, a get is still required. Itmar Kitchavasach Shloishim. If let's say you're Mekadesh within the 3-month period of time, Ubayrach, and then they ran away, says Rashi. Nothing. One says we will put them in Cherim. A ruke that a ruke that we will help him with his fleeing. Mistaya havi mistaya. So havi uvda. So we'll help him with his fleeing. Says Rashi, lo boy lemichve the licht of get the gully daita the loy boy lichnas ad zmanoi. So havi uvda vi omer le rafram a ruke mistaye, that it helps him with his fleeing. Again, says Rashi, lo boy lamichve the lichtoi get. We don't have to force him to write a get. The gully daite the lo boy lichnas ad zmano. It's clear the fact that he fled shows he didn't want to marry until the time allotted anyway. Let's see if we have any questions. Question 2. Kohen shenasa menekes chavero ha'im moitzia beget va'im asul hachzira. Okay, so we saw that moitzia beget and asul hachzira, and he'll also be usher to take her back, and therefore that's the truth. That you would think maybe we wouldn't want to do that. So maybe that's only will be lenient when it comes to the case of chalitza, but in this situation, both sheets hold a get has to be given. Let's see, TB 21. So they went to the Medina Siyam, and the husband died. So the question is, what's the deal with this Sarah? Maybe she's pregnant, she has kids, maybe he had another wife. Ma tamim, what are the reasons? Sheish loimer she'ein hanisheres choletzes toich tes v'tinase achar tes. So he says, shemetz rasu muberes, maybe the co-wife is pregnant. V'chalitzas muberes ot sarasa enu chalitza Kreish Lakish. Maybe we hold like Kreish Lakish that chalitza is insufficient, and therefore that's why she'en hanisheres chalitzas. Oshemi he Vlad ben Kayama, maybe it's a healthy child. V'chalitzasa enu chalitza, so it was not a chalitza. V'yasel meimer chalutz muter sakayin, and a person may make a mistake and say that actually in a normal situation a kohen is allowed to marry someone who does chalitza, so we can't even make that announcement. Oh, we'll do the chalitza, but we'll announce that this is just a precaution because they may not hear both sides of the story.